So what actually happens when you take every major esoteric, spiritual, and political internet theory out there and just smash them all together into one massive, unified worldview? Well, welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to visually map out a really dense, fascinating hour-and-a-half manifesto that attempts to do exactly that.
The source material we're digging into today doesn't just question a few historical events. No, it fundamentally challenges our basic perception of the physical world. It's basically urging us to stop accepting the surface-level narrative we're fed and to aggressively question literally everything we think we know about reality.
Okay, let's dive right into the foundation of this whole theory. The source leans heavily on this ancient Gnostic concept called the demiurge. According to this view, the demiurge is this overarching consciousness that created our physical universe, but as a false, incomplete reality. Basically, the core claim is that we're essentially trapped in a giant artificial simulation completely disconnected from the actual supreme truth.
To make sense of this incredibly dense web of claims, we've gone ahead and organized the source's somewhat chaotic architecture into 5 structured pillars: the holographic illusion, systems of global control, hidden tech and extraterrestrials, the digital matrix, and finally, the path to awakening.
Let's start with pillar number 1, the holographic illusion and the quantum nature of our world.
The source uses this idea that what you're seeing on your computer screen at any given time is just a filtered projection of what's really going on underneath the surface, and honestly, this captures their core analogy perfectly. Think of reality like computer code. The stuff we experience every day, the physical world, is just the user interface. It's masking a much deeper, nonlinear quantum reality beneath it. Just like a mountain of ones and zeros creates the digital experience on your phone, there's a deeper quantum code actively creating the illusion of our universe.
Moving right along to our second section, systems of global control. This is where we look at who allegedly runs this false reality and the specific methods they use to maintain that power over us.
The theory posits that a hidden deep state uses everyday mechanisms to keep humanity fearful, docile, and completely spiritually disconnected. We're talking about alleged control mechanisms spanning from toxic processed foods made by companies like Monsanto that subdue our creative energy, to water fluoridation which supposedly calcifies the pineal gland, right down to the massive surveillance state that whistleblowers like Edward Snowden actually confirmed.
But the source pushes these ideas even further, suggesting that elite networks and historical tragedies serve much, much darker hidden agendas. For instance, it claims the Epstein network wasn't just a criminal enterprise, but an actual system for elite energy harvesting through trauma. Similarly, it frames the tragedy of 9/11 as an orchestrated event to justify war, or even, according to one wild theory they mention, to secure ancient extraterrestrial stargates.
Now, what gives some of these wilder theories traction is how the manifesto anchors them to historically verified operations. Take the CIA's MK Ultra program, for example. The fact that the government verifiably experimented with super hallucinogens and mind control on its own citizens, the source uses that as absolute proof to validate its broader theories about ongoing massive psychological manipulation today.
Which brings us to the third pillar, hidden tech and extraterrestrials. Here's where the claims about anomalies kept deliberately in the dark get really intense. Because the claims go way beyond our planet, the source asserts that black-budget military sectors, places like Sector 4, have possessed limitless energy and anti-gravity tech for decades. And they say this tech is supposedly derived from reverse engineering extraterrestrial crafts, specifically ones from the Zeta Reticuli star system, fueled by an incredibly exotic material called Element 115.
3,000. According to the source, that is the number of confirmed UFO sightings by pilots gathered by the Disclosure Project. They present this number as undeniable, hard evidence that advanced, non-human technology is actively operating in our skies right now.
The theory suggests that all these secretive scientific programs represent a militarized grab for ultimate reality-bending power. For example, HARP is accused of manipulating weather and causing earthquakes, while directed energy weapons are blamed for starting those massive California wildfires. And of course, there's the infamous Philadelphia experiment, which allegedly manipulated electromagnetism to bend light and literally shift dimensions.
The narrative then details theories from figures like David Icke about interdimensional entities. We're talking claims of reptilian archons feeding off human fear and operating through genetically modified human hybrids, otherwise known as the Illuminati. It even covers Project Bluebeam, which is a supposed plot to use atmospheric chemicals and massive holograms to stage a fake alien invasion. The alleged goal of all this? To consolidate global power into a single, one-world government.
Shifting gears to the fourth section, the digital matrix. Here, the manifesto issues a stark warning about transhumanism and how modern technology might become our ultimate, inescapable prison. The source highlights a pretty revealing quote from Mark Zuckerberg. What's good for the world isn't necessarily what's good for Facebook. The crucial takeaway they want you to get here is that corporate algorithms, which are designed purely for profit and grabbing our attention, are allegedly already manipulating us into a collective, docile hive mind. Basically, we are living in algorithmic bubbles that dictate our entire reality.
So the source envisions two deeply contrasting futures for us. On one side, you have this cyberpunk dystopia of Neuralink brain microchips and VR escapism controlled by a central AI. On the other side, there's the organic spiritual path they believe humanity absolutely must choose, a path rooted in sovereign individuality and telepathic connection through a unified, higher consciousness.
And that transitions us perfectly to the fifth and final pillar, the path to awakening. This is where we move away from fighting material threats and focus entirely on spiritual liberation. Remember that demiurge we discussed at the very beginning? Well, the source argues it's actually just an internal state of duality and disconnection. What that means is, we can't fight the system physically. Rioting or rebelling against the government just won't work. Instead, we have to turn inward to find Sophia, which is the Gnostic concept of divine wisdom found entirely within ourselves.
To actually break free of this mental enslavement, the source outlines some very specific, actionable steps. It starts with actively rejecting fear and the herd mentality. Then it's about understanding the power of belief, utilizing sacred plant medicines like ayahuasca or psilocybin in proper ceremonial settings to heal deep trauma, and finally, activating your energetic light body.
Emphasizing the very real science of epigenetics, the source notes that our beliefs biologically shape our physical reality. If we live in fear, our cells literally express that. But if we live in hope and compassion, we heal. The ultimate takeaway here is that by healing ourselves on a cellular and spiritual level, we literally heal the entire world around us.
So whether you personally believe in holographic universes, hidden technologies, or interdimensional entities, the source's core challenge is still pretty powerful. Step out of your algorithm and reject fear. Because in a world that is increasingly built on digital illusions, you have to ask yourself, how much of your reality is actually yours?